The predictions about the catastrophe
As another therapy for Ebola is already being tested on Americans with COVID-19, but it's still unclear when any of these treatments will be widely available.
The State Department raised the travel advisory to the highest level, to level 4 in its office.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, the government's top expert on infectious diseases.
Good morning, everyone. This is Dave with Marketing Ideas for Printers, and welcome to the Thursday edition of Coronavirus Resources for Printers. And as we do on Thursdays, I'm tag teaming with Trish. And as I was kind of playing that in my mind ahead of time, I'm thinking, boy, maybe that's the name we should use for Thursday's webinars now, is tag teaming with Trish. So,
yeah, really.
So Trish, as always, glad to have you here.
Thanks, Dave.
We'll just hop right into it, do a few of the housekeeping items. We've got some topics that we want to hit head on, so we'll just get right going into it. Some of those housekeeping items is just as a reminder that today's webinar, the Thursday version of Coronavirus Resources for Printers, like the Tuesday webinar, it's open for all printers, and there is going to be value for all printers here, even if you don't use the services from Marketing Ideas for Printers. However, please do know that the Thursday webinars, a few weeks ago, we kind of shifted the focus to go deeper into the services that we are offering through Marketing Ideas for Printers. So please stick around. If you're not already using our services, you might still get a few good takeaways here, but on Thursdays, we do go deeper into the tools that we offer. So that is why we have Tag Team with Trish here today. So we'll be getting to that in a little bit. It's also worth reminding you that all of our webinars are posted on coronavirusresourcesforprinters.com. I'm looking at my haircut on that first one, which was before that all started, but I got a few extra layers, as many of us do now. But if we go down on the bottom of the screen here, you'll see that the most recent webinar is always going to be in that top spot in our recording section. And you'll see that Tuesday's webinar is there right now. And as soon as we're done with today's webinar, that one will be the top one on the spot. So you have all of these resources, not just the webinars, but all of the other resources that we've made available through this series are continue to be available at coronavirusresourcesforprinters.com. Let's see, what else do we have? Stick around for the survey afterwards. It's super quick. We invite you to stick around for that. And we're going to hop right into it pretty quickly. And as we do, I always get to this point where I say something that I've said from the very beginning of this, and I'm going to say it right now too, because it's still true. And that is that we will get through this together. Now, having said that, again, still very true, but I'm also starting to sense as I'm visiting with so many of you that everyone is kind of approaching that starting line, or maybe the restarting line, and everyone's kind of starting to rev their engines. So we're anxious to get through this next phase. We will get through this together, and we are now at a point, I believe, where many of you correctly are getting ready to rev that engine and kind of blast out of where we're at. Still going through a lot of it, but we are getting there. So with that said, Trish, we will transition to the topics of today, which will be talking about default messages, global questions, and time permitting, well, we will talk about it and we'll see how deep we go, but we'll talk about the new large format printing category, which we hinted at on some of the previous webinars. Enough of me talking. Trish, over to you.
Sounds good, Dave. Thank you for the intro as always. As Dave alluded to, one of our three main topics that we want to cover today are the various areas in the control center where you can update messages that are received by your print buyers. One of which is called a send a proof message. This is found under my website, the e-commerce settings tab, and send a proof message. And actually all three of the ones that I'll be going through is going to be under the e-commerce settings tab. And so the first one, the send a proof message, what you type in this box that you see on the screen here is the message that will be presented as the default proof message when you send a proof to your print buyer. Now, this message can still be edited prior to delivering the proof, but it's kind of a one and done time saver. If you feel that most of the time you'd want to send the same proof message to your print buyers, feel free to edit or add in here whatever you'd like, but know that when you go to send a proof, you have the ability to edit it if need be. And so as an example, under your workflow, the send a proof message, if you were to go through and set up to send a proof to one of your print buyers, right here is that same default message. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit, might be a little hard to see, under your message to customer. So this, due to high volume, please ensure you get back to our print shop within 48 hours of receiving this proof. This same message, if I go back to my previous tab, is the same default that I have under the e-commerce settings send a proof message. So it does show up as the default, but you can go in here and add more information as needed before this proof is sent to your print buyer. So you might have a one-off or a particular customer that you need to disseminate more information to in the proof. This is your chance to add to that message, or you could always completely remove it if need be and add what you would like. But just want to let you, yes, Dave.
So the big takeaway there, I think, considering where we're at in pandemic world right now, is you may have set that as your default message. And maybe it, just like you said, Trish, that is a set it and forget it, usually, until a pandemic hits. And now you might want to adjust that message to reflect anything that's relevant to your store hours or your proofing process that may have changed, just to give you that head start to get that message out there. And then exactly like where you're at now, Trish, just know that it can be overridden for each individual proof.
Right. So thank you for mentioning that that can be overridden for any proof that is sent to your print buyers. So again, to maybe you haven't edited this in a while, or the times have changed in the past couple of weeks that you would like to edit your proof message, just know that's under my website, e-commerce settings tab, send a proof message. The second default message that you can update for your print buyers, and they kind of go hand in hand. So I'm going to go over both of these before I show you an example. The first one is called estimate comments. Again, this is a default message that is given to your print buyers when you have to present an estimate, or I should say when an estimate response is sent to your customers. Again, this can be modified and overridden on an as-needed basis prior to sending them back the estimate. And so, again, mine, and I'll show you where this shows up. I just have a quick mention of please don't hesitate to email or call us for any questions you may have. I have my email and my phone number. As Dave mentioned for the send a proof, maybe the times have changed with the recent pandemic that you need to ensure that you communicate whatever it is as far as an estimate comment. So this would be the location to update this comment. And again, I'll show you an example in a minute, but you can override this as needed. Also, right below it, you'll see estimate terms. You can also adjust the estimate terms. And what this is, again, is when you send an estimate response to your customers, these are the terms that show up, but you can override these on an as-needed basis. So I have this estimate is good for 30 days. Perhaps it's shorter, perhaps it would be longer. You know, you would have more verbiage, whatever the case is, you may certainly adjust your estimate terms in this location. So now that you've seen the location where you can update them, maybe you're wondering, well, how does this show up? How can I adjust this before I send an estimate? So what I have in my workflow is I have a test print buyer that submitted an estimate. It came into my print shop and workflow as in estimating. And so I'm going to click on this estimate. And if I scroll down just a little bit, here are those estimate details or comments that I was referring to that show up automatically as a default. And a little bit further down is the estimate terms. This is where you can remove, adjust, edit as needed on an as needed basis for the situation that needs it. But again, it's kind of a, you set it and forget it, but you have the ability to edit this before it's sent back to your print buyer when they accept or reject or whatever for the estimate.
And one thing I'd like to remind people here too is, you know, the reason we're showing this to you, one of the reasons is to remind you, first of all, that this tool is available, but specific to coronavirus and everything like that, that you might adjust these messages for today's world. I would also remind you, and this is kind of that thing where we're saying like this will be done some days. You might want to, if you make a change, just put a reminder on your calendar, push it out 2-3 weeks, whatever you feel is appropriate, to come back here and change these for our post-coronavirus world too, so that you're not still sending a coronavirus-related message in any of the default messages. You will see that, of course, every time that you get to a point like Trish has on her screen where that default message shows up. But might just be good to put in that reminder in your calendar that, hey, I need to go back and change that again. So just a little extra tip there. We're going to move. I think, Trish, are we ready to move to the next topic?
Yep, I just wanted to quick recap that the 3 various messages that you can adjust is under my website e-commerce settings. There's send a proof, and then the estimate comments and estimate terms both show up where I was just showing you when you want to reply back to your print buyer regarding an estimate. So I just wanted to recap on where those are found so we can go to the next topic.
And as you transition, I'm going to just take this moment. I did see one question come in. Cindy, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that I see your question. It's a little bit different than, well, maybe not different, but just a little unique compared to what we're talking about here. So 2 things, Cindy, we will go ahead and follow up with that question individually. We'll make sure to follow up with you on that. And for anyone else, if you have questions or feedback, please use the questions or the chat panel. We'll keep an eye on those as we go here too. Trish, let's move on to the global questions. This is a really good time saver, and I think we've hinted at it in previous webinars, but let's go a little bit deeper.
Yep, sounds good, Dave. Under the Order Forms tab in the Control Center, and if you select Order Form Settings, the website defaults to Global Questions. You may or you may not have dabbled in here too much. What Global Questions is, it allows you to add a question in this location, and then instead of having to recreate the question on any order form that you need to, you can just add the global question that you've already created, so it's not where you're having to re-add it or recreate it. It's kind of add it once, and you don't have to keep recreating it on subsequent order forms. And so don't mind my long list here, but as an example, perhaps you need to display some sort of text message to your print buyers. Maybe it's you want to have a highlight text message, you know, whatever the case may be, depending on what you need to let your print buyers know on particular order forms. You can add a message, add a question, add some answers. You can add anything that you need to, and then once you add it here under global questions, this can show up on any order form. And so I'm going to quick add a global question on the fly. It's considered a highlighted text message, just the element label, and then this is the message that I'm going to, as an example, let my print buyers see on the order forms that I'll be adding this to. So I'm going to create question, and then I'm going to go up to on the left under public order forms, and I'm going to go to any of my order forms quickly, and I'll just take the top one here, announcements, and I'm going to click edit. Now this can be added to any public order form, or if you happen to have private order forms, you can add it to private order forms. Under questions and answers, you can go down and select add a question. Under choose a type, use a global question or element, and excuse me, in the list, if you scroll down, here's the one that I called COVID-19, the one that I had just created. You would select that and simply select use this global question. You are not having to create it again. It's already been created back under the global question area. But now you can just simply add it to this order form. You can add it to as many order forms as you want. You don't have to go and create it from new. So I'm going to quickly save this and just show you what this would look like on this announcements order form. And this is at the bottom. So if I quickly scroll to the bottom, again, here's that highlighted text message. It simply says a message to our print buyers. Again, this would reflect whatever message you add at the global questions level. So it would probably have a little bit more information, but just as an example, a highlighted text message global question that you can quickly add to any order form instead of having to recreate it on each order form.
So think about how powerful that is in today's environment. If there is a message, now we've done some things with message. We kind of scrolled by it here, but we have the banner across the top. But if there is that extra message you wanted to add to each order form so that people saw that, this is how you can do that. And it might be that, just like Trish showed, you can add that to this order form and other order forms, and you add that message to all of the order forms. Fast forward a few days or weeks or wherever you're at, if you want to change that message to reflect some change that has happened, you only need to change it in that one spot. And once you make the change back at that global questions list, just where we started, the instant you make that change, every order form that uses that global element would reflect that change all at once. In other words, if you're using that on 12 or so order forms, you only have to update it one time, and then all of those 12 or so order forms will have that change happen at the exact same time. Big time saver.
Thank you. I was going to I added the word update, and this is, again, as Dave alluded to, actually back at where the global question was added. And all I'm going to do is refresh my order form and scroll back down to the bottom here, and now there's the word update in caps. So I didn't have to do anything to the order form itself. All I had to do is update the global question, and wherever this global question resides on the order forms will automatically update for you. So big time saver if you need to update it once, and it'll show up on multiple order forms.
Speaking of time, there it goes again. We're running out, so let's. I do want to hit this last topic, and I have a few notes here. So Trish, as you kind of start to cue that up, we hinted at this on one of the previous webinars. Well, more than hinted, but we released information about the new banners, COVID-related banners, and how we dropped those into all of our websites for our subscribers. And that also started to open up this conversation that we're going to hit, and one that we hadn't made a lot of noise about yet. We really hadn't needed to, but we kind of need to now. And that is a recent change to the order forms, specifically in the past. And many of you will see that you still have these. In the past, we've had big color posters and banners as order forms in the website. And we reached a point where we felt we needed to kind of recalibrate a few of these things. And so here's what happens is we took the big color posters order forms and categories, and we kind of repurposed it to simply just posters, and took some elements of that big color poster category and used that and banners and kind of reworked those into one new order form called large format printing. Trish, you'll get into the details here in a minute, but the big thing that I want to make sure that you know is that any new demo websites and new subscribers, you might already be seeing that large format printing. But if you are an existing or previous website subscriber, you might still be seeing the big color posters and the banners and the posters and all of that. So what Trish is about to show you, if you'd like some help making that change or getting that order form added to your website, let us know on that. That's one that we can help you with. Now, that's the setup. Trish, take us into the details, please.
Yep. So this is coming from the perspective of a current subscriber that would have, as you can see on my screen, you would probably have the big color posters and the banners product categories, unless for any reason you had them deleted. Now I threw in the large format printing category, and I added it to the top here. You can go in if you would like and edit this category for any reason, if you want to change the name, if you would like to switch out the info that we have provided, and or if you'd like to switch out the image. But these are the defaults that we have set up for that large format printing category. Going under order forms, and if I go down and I select the large format printing category, there is the one order form that Dave alluded to called large format printing. If we were to view this order form, this will kind of give you a sense of what is contained in it. So here's the image and here's the default information that I was mentioning. And so on the order form itself, we have a quantity question where your print buyers can type into quantity. We have various sizes. And number 3, product usage. And so depending on what a user selects in number 3, number 4 changes. So if the product usage, as an example, is general purpose, Okay, what's the media selection? Would this be a vinyl banner or perhaps an adhesive banner? And there's a nice little highlighted text message that talks about the different media selections. There's also a nice little question mark help bubble on the right that'll kind of guide your print buyers if they're questioning which format, large format printing media should I choose. So there's a lot of nice guides that will help your print buyers if you're to use this order form as is. Going through question number 3, photographic, again, changes the media selection to different matte, satins, and gloss. If I change backlit display, there's different films that can be selected. And again, these nice little highlighted text messages change depending on what is selected in number 3. And then window display, what type of cling or a vinyl. Again, the highlighted text message changes. So it's a really well thought out, a nice feature as far as a large format printing order form. And then we have turnaround times, the job name, comments, and then a location for them to upload the file. Now on the back end, of course, if you wanted to edit this order form, you can select edit. You can go under questions and answers. You may edit what we have provided for you. And I noticed, Dave, there were some pricing that was applied. You can go under the pricing tab. And if you have e-commerce suite, you can change the advanced pricing tables as you see fit. But we have provided probably a 99% getting started, or you can use it as is if you would like. And again, this is the large format printing order form under the large format printing category.
So a couple of questions that have come in, and again, I just want to re-emphasize the important part of what a couple of things that you said there is that any of those items, like in that pull-down menu, if you can scroll down to number 3 there for us, Trish, and just select any one of those. Keep in mind that any one of those things can be customized, whether it's the item where it says general purpose in the pull-down menu, the help bubble to the right, and then the media selection answers, and even that text underneath. All of that can be customized. It's impossible to find that one size fits all answer or scenario for everybody. So that can be customized.
Correct.
Now, a couple of questions have come in, and I want to hit them. I know we're already running a little bit over, but there's a couple of important questions here. The first one is from Tim. Tim asks, I do not see the large format category or the order form. How can this be added? Trish?
Yes, if on the back end of your website, if you do not have that listed in either your product category or your order forms, for whatever reason, I can see that we can look you up and we'll make sure to add that. Now I had copied this to my order form, so this shows up, but I'll take a look. We'll make sure that we can add that for those that, for whatever reason, do not see that order form on the back end of your website. So we'll make sure that that is.
Yeah, so for Tim and anyone else that has one of our websites and you're not seeing that, please reach out to us, reach out to Trish. You can start a help center ticket or just simply email us and we'll go ahead and get that in for you. And I would think, and Trish, help me out if I'm wrong, but I think what we would do is probably just drop that in as an inactive form to allow people to go from there.
Yep, we'll simply copy that. We'll make sure that that's turned off because then you can make sure it's set up the way you want it before you activate it. So very simple on our end. If you don't see that order form and you would like that, we'll make sure that that's on your website.
So Tim, in your case, specifically for you, being you asked the question, we'll get a help center ticket going for you and get that underway. And again, anyone else that wants that, just please let us know. The other question, kind of a big picture question, and I'll give the big picture answer, is from Mike. Says, does the large format printing order form integrate with Odyssey? And the answer is yes. Any order form integrates with Odyssey, and that is the Print MIS from Marketing Ideas for Printers. That's a whole nother soapbox. I'm not going to get into that now, otherwise none of you are going to get out of here in time, even close. So so that big picture answer is yes, and same thing, we can drill into those details as needed. It also brings up one other point that I just need to touch on really quickly, and back to where I said that we kind of recalibrated those order forms. One of the things that happened when we recalibrated the large format printing is for the sizes to better match up with the design edits library of large format printing. So if you have that combination of the order forms and design edit, you're going to see a lot better flow of products available to you for that. Again, a little bit of a different topic, but that's one you can dive into the details with Trish and her team as we need to.
For sure.
Let's see, I got, and I see one other person. Cindy has also requested the large format order form. So again, that's an important note. If you've got, if you'd like that added, please let us know. Cindy and Tim, we got you covered on that one. And again, anyone else, please let us know. Let's get this thing wrapped up. I do want to give a teaser out for Tuesday's webinar. Again, that big picture webinar for all printers. If you were on one of our previous webinars, we had brought in Kelly Magliozzi to talk about some of the, well, really some of the sales building approaches that you could have coming up here through the coronavirus pandemic. She's coming back on Tuesday, and we're going to talk about LinkedIn. It was kind of interesting because there's a part of my introduction is how we upgraded our connections from Twitter to LinkedIn to a phone call to the webinar, and that LinkedIn part caught a few people's attention. So Kelly has really been working LinkedIn pretty hard. She's going to have some power tips, so please come back on Tuesday. Let's see, what other housekeeping items do we have here? Just a reminder that the recording of today's webinar is going to be posted at coronavirusresourcesforprinters.com. If you find value in this webinar series and the resources we're sharing, please share that with other printers, and please stick around for the survey afterwards. A lot of your feedback gets turned into FAQs and emails and future webinar topics. And I got to tell you, some of you are getting lazy. We used to get a lot of good feedback. We still get feedback, but the percentage of people sticking around for the survey is kind of tapered off a bit. Do us a favor. You've given us about 25 minutes of your time already. Just give us 30 seconds more to give us that rating. And we will continue to be here for you with resources like this. And with that, I'll knock my webcam off and we'll roll the end here. Stick around for the survey, and we'll see you at the next webinar.